feel like I've got this sort of subtle prejudice against ketamine. I mean, I'm very, very interested, and I love that it has all of this potential. And obviously, a lot of people are being helped by it. But I think my subtle prejudice has to do with the kind of the feeling of the drug itself, which in some ways feels to me a bit soulless. Like if I think about psilocybin, I feel the character of that. If I think about ayahuasca, I feel the character of ayahuasca. Iboga, same. Even MDMA, ketamine has this sort of odd blankness to it. So my question was, does ketamine have soul? And then now, yeah, okay, just one thing on that. I was thinking maybe the spaciousness is the soul. You know, that it invites in space, allows our soul to show itself or recognize itself.
Yeah. Ketamine has a gentleness to it. There's a certain flow, and there is actually, it seems like there's a bit of a feminine energy associated with the space. And this is also, I think, cultivated, as you probably mentioned in these meetings before, with set and setting, you know, the mindset of the client and the setting of the environment that you are experiencing this medicine in. If they are sort of ripe for one to feel safe, then it is easier for the ketamine and the person to do their work together.
Oh, I'm getting it now. I was first like feminine. I don't feel like that at all. But then now you're talking about set and setting and the feeling of safety, the feeling of being held. That's pretty feminine. That's some mothering. Wow.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
to just kind of receive in that and feel like, oh, even so many people have seen these like visions of themselves as children and are able to experience compassion and sort of weep for that part of them and have a sense of compassion for the parts of them that try so hard to protect the other parts. Like there is really a softening in the space if you don't get too high that you forget. Like there's an art to the dosing. You know, you could be so high that sure, that was great, but you don't come back with any memory of the gains.
Yes, I imagine there's quite the art to that. So maybe you could talk us through how it works in your clinic and how you gauge the dosing and how the whole thing happens.
So we start with, psychiatric evaluation for medical and psychiatric clearance, and some preparatory sessions to build the connection between the client and myself, or the client and my colleagues that work with me here at home. When the client comes in, I use intramuscular, and my colleagues use either intramuscular or oral, depending on if I or the nurse practitioner is available for the intramuscular.
Oral version. Is the lozenges?
Yeah, there's a troche, which is like a little waxy mini hockey puck. And then there's the rapidly dissolving tablet. And the goal behind the lozenge is that you hold it in your mouth for 12 or so minutes. And the longer you can hold the saliva created by having this funny tasting thing in your mouth, the more it is absorbed through the oral mucosa and then gets slowly into the body.
Oh, does that help with nausea? Because I know that if you just, guzzle a lozenge, you're most likely to feel nauseous.
It actually is deactivated by the acids in the system if you just swallow it down. So you have to hold it in your mouth for the pH to be proper for the absorption. The recommendation is that you then spit all of the saliva that you've held onto in your mouth.
You don't swallow it?
No, you're supposed to spit to avoid the nausea and also to avoid the second pass kick that can occur hours later in some people. I have, I'm an addiction psychiatrist, so I do have a population of clients that are of the more is better vibe. So they're like, spit, I got it on board, I'm keeping it. And that then goes there.
That's funny. Actually, at some point I want to talk to you about that.
Oh yeah.
question, the addiction question and the
Oh, of course.
for
That's good.
fun and dependency question. But okay, so
Okay.
oh yeah, and
So,
just one more thing. Sorry, practical on that nausea is. I heard that they were developing something that had an anti-nausea.
oh, Zofran is a commonly, even when I prescribe oral for people to bring into the office
Mm,
to sit with the clinicians, I also prescribe Zofran, which is an anti-nausea. And the recommendation is if you're prone to nausea with anesthesia or even just windy car rides or boat trips,
yeah,
pre-medicate with the anti-nausea so it's not a thing because it can be quite uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that's good. That's helpful. All right, and then there's the back to your.
Okay, the drop in. This is like
Mhm.
what the experience is like. So
Yeah,
day
and we're
of,
talking about how you do it with intramuscular. So you
intramuscular.
inject. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll describe you like a day of.
great.
So we've said, don't eat for 2 hours before coming in, and ideally you're supposed to be like NPO, don't eat or drink for 3 to 4 hours. We've softened that a bit. And so it's don't eat for 2 hours, don't have big meals earlier in the day, and try not to drink for 2 hours. If we're in a desert and it's hot, sip. But this is to avoid if you're nauseous, throwing up. Um, so clients come in, the room is set. It looks a little bit like a living room, and there is a sofa, the lights are dim, there's a candle lit, there's ketamine assisted soundtrack music playing in the background. Um, we sit and we talk for a couple of minutes. There's first they sit on the sofa and I'm on the chair, and then I ask them to sit on the chair while I take the cushions off the sofa and put sheets and a fresh pillowcase on, so that they then lie down. We continue to talk for a little about intentions. I ask if there's any apprehension, and I prep it with, you don't have to not say it, because we won't not do it if you are apprehensive, if you still want to go. I just want to voice everything. Like, are there fears? Are there apprehensions? Are there things you don't want to do or go or see? So we try to put voice to what we can. Then I tend to have clients relax, and I turn on actually a 5-minute guided meditation. I'll probably start talking through it, but I think it's nice to make a separation between us engaging
Mm.
and them dropping into a grounded imagine roots into the earth, your body relaxing, connect with the weight underneath you of gravity. So you lie down and you relax for a couple minutes through that guided meditation. Then I take blood pressure. Usually you're okay. We have previously talked about dosing, and if we're going to go really light, uh, intramuscular, 15 is a very light dose, and you'll just kind of take a break. It's just like an augmented meditative experience. But if we uh, block the eyes and add headphones, so we're controlling two of the five senses, you are able to drop in deeper, even at a low dose, such that if you have anxiety about it, you can take the eye mask and the headphones off, and you're in the room, and you're like, okay, I got it. I have agency. I can go to the bathroom. I'm not fearful that I'm lost. So if we have anxious people, we can start there, or even just start with the whole experience without the meds if you're super anxious. Generally speaking, people want at least a little something, so we go there. If we have decided that we're going to try for a slightly higher dose because the client wants to really have the potential for their psychedelic experience, which offers what we have talked about in psychedelic healing as a mystical experience, which the literature shows is, a sense of oneness and connectivity and openness. And that has shown to be the most transformative and transformational, and really allows people to have a complete separation from their value system and the way they see themselves in the world. So some like the idea of going that deep. Okay, but you can go as deep as 100 milligrams, which will give you that full on, far out psychedelic experience, but you won't come back with much memory of the experience. So I have taken to bringing it back a little bit and having it slightly lower, and shifting the dose to 2 injections. I use the tiny little needle you use for, remember if you ever got those like TB tests, they put that
Mhm.
tiny little thing under your skin. So it doesn't really hurt so much. And you get 1 injection, you start to feel it in like 2 minutes. I say it's going to peak at 9 or 10. So I'll ask you at 15, is this where you want to be? Like, how are you doing? Are you here? Is this where you want to rest? Or would you like to go a little deeper? And if clients want to go a little deeper, then we do a second, and then we let them relax for, 40 minutes. And once they start to think, I said, when you have your first thought of like, do I still need to lie here? Or once you're fully aware that like you're on the sofa in the room, you can take the headphones off and we just have the music in the room. Oftentimes people like to stay relaxed with their eye shades on, and we just sort of begin to talk and process through things that came up.